Oh, you get it? Oh, man, my beard. That's looking rough. Oof, I wish it was an easier way to do this. Hi, everybody. Do you get my dad joke? Camp equals report. You guys want to come camping with me? Oh. Oh, you guys gonna report me? Oh, I'm laughing. This is the ultimate dad joke. I've been thinking about this for like 6 months. Oh shit. What's going on, everybody? How are you all doing? Camp equals report. I'm camping right now. You get? I hate this shit. Just look at the fire. Oh shit. I'm going to hell. All right. All right. I'm being immature. Oh god, I've thought about this for so long. So long. You like my Christmas lights that I have up? It's that it gets so dark. It gets so dark, so I need some sort of lights. That's how I'm camping right now. Look at that, beautiful. Did you guys know that the first tournament in October of 2019, I did it right in there. I did it in a trailer. I actually, when I was the top player in NAEU, it was right here. Right here. This brings back so many memories, man. I used to sit right there. I would sit right there and I would just play Identity 5 every day. Man, and I did it, and I would like do it for like hours and hours, and I was like, I want to be better than everyone else at this game. Whew. Okay. How we doing, everybody? Let's do a ask me anything sort of thing. Let's go. Let's do this. Ask me any question you want. The stream's gonna get me in trouble. Higher. Why do you look like Drake? Terrible genes. Why is Wildling S tier? Because you don't like me. Where are you living? Oh, I'm not. This is just a campground right now. Where did you meet Dariel? I met Dariel through Identity 5. How did you come up with the name Boston Jim? I don't know. Persuadable, you look sexy with a beard. This will look better once it's actually grown out. I feel like Joe Dirt. I'm in like the awkward puberty stage of the beard. So give me a few more weeks. Where's the marshmallows? Hate marshmallows. Persuade, you're a bad hamster. I'm also a bad hunter. But I don't go around telling everybody that this is a survivor sided game because my hunter sucks. Oh, That's gonna get so many people mad. I am not a doctor. I'm an occupational therapy practitioner. So I'm a clinician in skilled rehab. So when you go to a doctor and your doctor diagnoses you, it's my job from there to help you, depending on what the diagnosis is. And I'm a clinician, so I have my own medical license. People work under me, and I work in collaboration with a doctor. Doctors are super intelligent, man. They're awesome people. I started my major in psychology, and this is such a scary experience. Is it normal not to know anything at all about how you are going to manage your university and college life? Yes, I kind of almost got kicked out of 2 high schools. So when I went to kind of long story, I was an asshole. So when I went to college, I think my GPA was like a 2.2. I was more interested in drinking beer and talking to girls than when I was college. And then I went to college, and first year I was able to maintain a 3.3. And then the second year I'm like, I can totally do better than this. Second year I averaged way above that. And then I got into a university, and then I averaged, I think, a 3.9. I never did a 4.0 stuff because I messed around too much, but I still was able to maintain my studies, and then I went into grad school. So, so let's see what we got here. Persuade, I'm your #1 hater, so that means I'm your #1 motivator. You're not my #1 hater. My #1 hater is somebody named Emrakul. See what else we have. I think help patients adapt to daily life and their condition, right, for occupational therapists? No, not just adapt. Adapt means that you would have to adapt a task. We do restorative. We can restore your ability to do things. We can compensate by having some sort of different strategy, and adapt. Sometimes you have to have different sort of devices, etc. So it depends. Do you love me? Of course I love you. Can you give me lawyer? Duh. What do I look like, Cats 007? Of course I can gift you a lawyer. But persuadable can't get girls. That is true. Just because I said I was interested in them doesn't mean they were interested in me. Why are you alone at the campsite? I'm more of a loner, man. I like my own time. I'm like an extrovert introvert. Does that make sense? Weird. Persuade really flipped his life around. Yeah, man, I did. It took a lot of work. Do you love me? Yes, I do. Where's your S-tier cowboy badge, man? I never wanted to be a cowboy main because when I watched Toy Story, I understood that Buzz Lightyear was better. And also, cowboys, that's like 1800s, 1900s. It's a slowly dying occupation. So that's more for people like Cats. He's gonna be so mad. Persuade, I want to get a part-time job, but I have bad social anxiety. Do you have any tips? You don't need a job all the time that requires a lot of social interaction, so remember it that way. It depends on whether you want to find a job that would require you to increase your social anxiety, or rather increase your social interactions to remediate that social anxiety, or if you want to find a job that is comparable to your social anxiety. So you have to figure out what is your overall intent. Is it to increase your social interactions and therefore expose you to social interactions that could build your confidence to reduce your social anxiety? Or is your job to maintain a functional job, and to compensate the social anxiety, and only you can figure that out? And then you find the job that would be relative to what your motivation is. What's your average ping? Usually between 150 and 200, but now that I'm back home, it's between 60 and 100. Are you camping alone? Yep, I'm camping alone. Do you love me? Of course I love you. Do I love you? It's the moon out? Dumb. What's going on? Are those Christmas lights? Yeah, we a little ghetto here. What's going on? Thank you. Do you think the devs will actually implement the cowboy nerf? So many people are saying it's terrible. All right, I'm going to talk about the cowboy nerf for a second. If you guys ask your questions, I'll get to them in a little bit, okay? Here's my problem with the cowboy nerf, all right? And I could be wrong. Remember that. What I don't like is there are some people on YouTube, man, who are like, you can't even respond to their comments because they're such assholes about how they argue. It's terrible. The way that I look at the Cowboy is that there's so many different ways that they can address this. You can reduce the lasso length that requires cowboys to get closer to the hunter. You can increase how much of the lasso is used every time you use it. You can increase the duration that's required every time you wind up the lasso or release the lasso. Like every time you wind up the lasso and you don't use it, you could be on a 5-second cooldown in case somebody uses excitement. I mean, there's so many different things that they can explore. So the idea that you have to remove the one-tap lasso, I just disagree with. And whenever I see Cowboy gameplay, like Katz and I were talking about this tonight, every time I see Katz's gameplay and I see a hunter like try to go and get him down, he's playing exactly like a forward would play. He's maintaining distance. Cowboy, it's a little bit easier because you have more distance. So you don't have to get as close as what you would as a forward because there's time to react. But like his recent video that he posted, the Wu Chang made some choices, and there's nothing wrong with those choices. I would have made the same choices that he outplayed. But there would have been no difference between his forward and his Cowboy when he outplayed the Wu Chang. So that's where I disagree with removing the one-tap lasso. It requires a lot of skill, and there are other ways to address it. But the other thing is that there are people who are saying, no matter what you do, you have to remove the one-tap lasso. I think it's a little bit naive, but I also think that they're not wrong because it's an opinion. There's things that are out there that are factual, that are more objective, where it's like, all right, well, you can have your opinion, but it kind of sucks because it's not true, right? Like people who actually believe the earth is flat, people who think we faked the moon landing. The science is overwhelming. In fact, to fake the moon landing, you would have had to have 400,000 people fake the cinematic aspects of that because we didn't have the technology with all the lasers. But people don't want to talk about that. It's a different story. I don't even interact with people who are like that because as somebody who studies and breathes science, it's just not worth my time. But when it comes to the lasso, it's a subjective thing. So like, yeah, I can go out there and I can give my opinion and say, okay, there's so many other things that we could try before this. It seems a little drastic. Why won't you get this drastic with Dream Witch? But if people disagree, that's okay. It literally is okay. I don't fucking care. You know what I don't like? I don't like when people are assholes about it, though. If I want to deal with asshole people with asshole opinions, then I'll change my YouTube into a political page about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. There's enough of that going around right now. So, I think the one-tap lasso is a little bit of extreme. I don't think that we have seen it in any tournament gameplay. I think that some people are really good at the one-tap lasso with their skill, and I think that this game needs to stop punishing people for good skills. Some people consider it a broken mechanic, but if you're a really good forward, no matter what you do, if a forward doesn't get hit by your abilities, then they can still punish you. And that's why we see forward used in tournament gameplay, because they can punish you severely. So, and they nerfed forward a long time ago with this football duration. They didn't make you take 2 seconds to charge up your football before you could use it. So I just disagree with it, but it's subjective and people are allowed to have their opinions, and I think that we should be mindful of that. All right, I'm going to keep reading down now. When am I going to stream in Twitch? I don't like always live streaming, man. Because I like to play with fans a lot, and they don't always like going on live feed. And I feel like live feed, I gotta work on my personality, because I get really intense. I get really competitive, and then I say things, and then it hurts people's feelings. Like I'll be like, "Oh, this hunter sucks" when he's kicking my ass. I'll never say a hunter sucks when I'm kicking their ass. But I'll be like, "Oh, this hunter sucks" when he kicks my ass, and then that hunter messages me and says, "Hey, I was watching your feed, that hurt my feelings." And they're not wrong. So I'm trying to work on my personality, because like when I play the video game, you guys gotta remember, I'm not like a professional YouTuber, dude. I'm just some dude that comes on here and likes to blow steam. You know, you go into your work, you see patients who are dying from COVID. You see patients who are passing away. I haven't seen Dari in almost a year. I saw my family for 7 days in 2 years because I'm helping so many people in America right now when I travel. So eventually, like, you can get like the video games is a way for me to blow steam. It's not an area for me to pretend like I'm perfect. And so sometimes when I'm blowing that steam, it comes off aggressive, and I don't like that aspect of me. I think it can be borderline toxic. So I'm trying to work on that. I look at other streamers and I see how toxic they are, and they're okay with that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm not okay with that behavior. I'm not trying to tell them to be better people. I'm trying to tell myself, like, yo, like when you're in the middle of the match and you're talking shit like that, like, this is a small game. People are watching you, and those people's feelings will be hurt. And I can be thick-headed and say, oh, it's just the internet, it's just the game, grow up. Or I can look at it and say, how can I grow from this? How can I be a better man? And to me, that's more important than just trying to rely on the old, like, oh, it's just a video game. And I have a long way to go, man. I have a long, long way to go. You know, I spent 10 years playing video games talking shit to people because, you know, you're over a video game, you act like it doesn't care. And, you know, the difference between being a child and being a man is understanding that your actions have consequences. There's people who are going through a lot in this country right now, all over the world. And I want to be more of a positive influence. And I want to be one of those fake-ass fucking people that go on live feed and all that and act all happy and all cheerful and all that stuff. And then, you know, they get off live feed and they want to fucking crash their car into a telephone pole because they're bottling so much shit up and they're faking stuff. So I look at it as like, all right, I don't think the live feeding is for me right now. And that, you tell me, another Identity 5 YouTuber that keeps it real like that. I don't pretend to be all fucking peachy and happy all the time, you know what I mean? I try to keep it real, and that gets me in trouble sometimes, and rightfully so. There's a lot of room for growth. All right, let's see. Makes sense. I got, let's see what else we got. I don't know what to do in life. I'm in high school, but I have no idea what to do in life. I want to do something like YouTube, though. What advice would you give me? You are literally not supposed to know what you want to do. I can't stand when parents and professionals try to tell you that you should have all your answers by high school. That's absolute garbage. It's trash. We know that the frontal cortex doesn't fully develop until the age of 25. Our juvenile system is based on the old science where we thought it was 18. So your ability to reason and have better insight and judgment, that doesn't technically fully develop until you're 25. And you have a lot of room for improvement in terms of your personality. In fact, a lot of people with schizophrenia, they have their first breaks after the age of 20 in college. So I'm not trying to concern you. I'm trying to say that you have a lot of room for growth after high school. High school, you're like the 13-year-old of adults at that age. You know, at 18, you're not supposed to have that's old science, it's old philosophy, it's all trash, and I don't believe in it. You're not supposed to know what you want to do. So don't allow anyone to give you anxiety. It's a good idea to know a relative blueprint, to have a decent idea so you're not ballpark swinging everything, but you're not supposed to know everything. That's just awful. And it's a lot of stress, and you'll drive yourself mad. Do you hate me? No, I do not. Why did you quit IDV competitive? Because I have a real life job. Any advice on doing work for high school? I'm a freshman going into high school. Excuse me, so I'm nervous. What I will say is that I started working at the age 9th grade as well. Did I? Yeah, I did. But it was more of a summer job. I have no advice for you. I think some people give too much advice. What I would say is that if you're interested in a job, talk to your family and see if there's something you can work out on weekends, but don't forget to also be somebody who is in 9th grade. You have the rest of your life to work and be miserable. Can I join you? I love camping. Absolutely. You can absolutely join me. Did you see that beer behind you? Oh my God. I'm checking. I did not see Game & Grizzly. Hi, Persuade. Why are you so old? I told this to my friend. I told her if a girl was ever interested in me, I'd say if a girl ever comes up to me and compliments me or is interested in me, I'm straight up telling her, pick up your standards. You don't need to self-limit. It's not your position to tell a woman what she should and should not be interested in. In fact, you know what used to drive me crazy in college? I'm not going to lie. I'll be honest with you. Because all throughout high school I was in relationships, and then when I went to college I was finally single. And I mean finally in the sense that I got a lot of attention for myself, more than what I deserved, and I had fun with that. And I went on a lot of dates. The one thing that bothered me about women were women who could not take compliments. I'd say, "Oh, you look really good tonight," and be like, "Oh no, I don't." And it was such a like I get why people say that, to be humble, etc. But it's kind of a turnoff because you're putting me in a position where now I need to argue you as to why. I'm not lying to you. Like if you look like trash, then I would tell. Well, I wouldn't tell you, but I wouldn't, lie to you. If I tell you you look beautiful, like that's in my opinion. Why do you have to disagree or argue it? Just say thank you. You're allowed to say thank you. You're allowed to trust and believe in what other people are giving you in terms of compliments, because there's all too many people who will be negative and mean to you. So if you're going to listen to the bad people and the negative people and the people who criticize you, then you should allow yourself to listen to the people who actually appreciate you and find attractive qualities in you. And if you have the inability to find out that other people find you attractive in certain qualities, then that means that that's more of a deficiency in you. And you shouldn't spread that to other people. So that's my opinion. Have you ever thought about investing in stocks? Oh God, I'm so incompetent in that, but I would love to. I know middle school teachers tell high school is so hard, but it's basically the same. Don't worry, you're good. I never wanted to be a Cowboy man, because when I saw Toy Story, I understand that Buzz was better. Cowboy mains are gonna go crazy. By the way, there shouldn't be a delay on the stream. I'm just delayed in responding to everybody. Mercenary is better than first officer. Changed my mind. Nobody should be arguing that. What time is it over there? I don't know. I forget. Persuade, I learned kiting from your videos and improved a ton. I'm glad that you learned. That's awesome. I'm trying to learn myself again. Alright, Persuade is the only Identity 5 player that actually takes time to explain and use data. Yeah, I try to use data. Everybody's got their own styles, that's all. Hold on. No camping, yeah. Persuadable, in your opinion, which hunter deserves a buff or a rework? Oh, Lizard Man. Let him damage you right away when he jumps. Requires a lot of skill to land that. Maybe decrease the diameter a little bit if you want to balance it off, but allow him to damage you immediately with his ability, and just reduce the diameter so he has to really be accurate with it. So increase the skill that's required to land it, so you allow survivors to adequately predict it and maneuver, but allow him to damage you immediately. Bloody Queen can damage you immediately with her ability. Bonbon can damage you. Gamekeeper can essentially, not really, but he brings you close enough where it should count, but the technicality is that it doesn't. So I think he needs one. Who else am I missing? Geisha's difficult. Because she slaughters low tiers, but high tier she evens out. She's easily countered. That's just because the high tiers play better characters usually. Alright, so let's see. Extra wand for Magician. Nah, he doesn't need another wand. Because the difference between him and Perfumer is that he's not feeding like Perfumer is. What is one thing you like most about yourself, and what do you hate about yourself that you like to work on? What do I like most about myself? What I like most about myself is that I genuinely tell you what I think, even if it hurts your feelings. Because I believe in transparency and I believe in honesty. But I won't willingly just throw that out there. You have to ask me first. I believe that communication is important, and I also feel like a lot of men lack it. We get told to bottle things up, to not talk about things, don't talk about anxiety, depression, don't talk about suicide, and then it leads to this overt sort of aggression I have no idea why people think that women are more emotional than men. Men are more likely to be violent. That's an emotional reaction. They're more likely to say I love you when they're not in love. They're more likely to marry a woman they're not in love with. They're more likely to move in with a woman that they don't really want to move in with. If a mother abandons a boy, they're more likely to be destructive and have long-term implications than what a girl is if their father abandons them. Men are more likely to rape, they're more likely to sexually assault, they're more likely to cause violence, they're more likely to cause crime. Most of those are emotional impulses, so I believe communication is important. And so I try to be honest. What I don't like most about myself, oof, there's quite a bit actually. What I don't like most about myself, you're asking me the worst of it all. I'd say at this point in my life, it's not me trying to find an answer in the sense of there's nothing wrong with me. It's me trying to figure out which one's the most. What I don't like most about me. I hate my anxiety and depression. I think that's the one thing that I don't like. I don't like the 1 month, 2 months of barely wanting to get out of bed, barely finding the energy to brush my teeth, barely having enough energy to go to my job and help other people. I don't like the nights where I can't fall asleep or my mind is racing and I have an anxiety attack and then I can't breathe and then I can't function for the day. But over the years, I've gotten better with that. Another thing I don't like, I don't like my my mood swings. Sometimes I'm in a really fucking grumpy mood, guys. Like really, really grumpy mood. And just wake up, you see that fucking stupid comment on YouTube or you see somebody on Discord writing some stupid shit. Because, you know, to them, they have nothing to lose. You know, they can write what... And so, I would say that's the one thing. I've gotten way better at it, though. But I have a lot of room for improvement. But I would say the anxiety... the anxiety is bad. People think that because you're a social person that you don't have anxiety, and it's awful. Like, people think that because I'm a YouTuber, you can go and say whatever you want to me, and I don't think about it. And I've gotten better over it in the 2 years. There's only been one instance in the past year where something got to me. And that was actually during the tournament. During the tournament, I went on Twitter. There were a whole bunch of people. There was like a flock of them telling me to kill myself and shit. And I was new to Twitter. Like, I've been in Twitter for a long time, but I've never used it. And then I started using Twitter again. And there was just like all of these people who didn't... I don't understand what it was, but they were just fucking insulting me like crazy. Like... And it was just too much at once, and I wasn't used to it. And I hate that I let it get to me. Because over YouTube and Discord, I've gotten way better. You know, now I'm just like, whatever. You know, I had somebody talk some shit the other day. I'm like, all right, whatever. But you do grow immune to it. I want to make sure I don't become ignorant, though, because there's this line where, like, there's a certain way you have to talk to me. You get so used to people being so fucking rude and trolling and being just assholes that it's hard for you sometimes to discern who actually is like giving you productive feedback and who's just being a dick. So like when you first enter it, you're like, oh yeah, thank you for the advice, thank you for this. And then over time, you're just like, shut the fuck up. Like, if you don't, I don't ask people to like and subscribe. Fuck off. So it's, yeah. All right, hold on. All right, let's see. That's such a beautiful question. Good job asking me that question. Persuadable, in your opinion, which hunters do I already answered that? Persuade, in your opinion, is Lizard Man OP or needs buff? He needs a buff. As a hunter man, I report people who camp. Give Magician some love. He deserves some. That's all I play is Magician right now. Let's see. I have 7 essays to do, but here I am. I love you too, bud. The world isn't flat. Hi. Christmas lights. Why most of the player think this game is survivor-sided? I think the game is hunter-sided. I think that a lot of players think that the game is survivor-sided because they play hunter. They get away with it for a couple tiers, and then it starts to get challenging. And then they automatically assume, all right, this game, this is too challenging for me. It's easier to be a survivor because I only got to do 1/4 of the work. As of now, there is no data that ever suggested that the game is survivor-sided in the sense of, you know, I'm not talking about tournament mode, but in terms of the game, in terms of legendary rank mode, I think that the devs need to do a better job at providing transparency and giving numbers, but they're so worried about their product that they don't, to give numbers, they told me straight out, we're not giving you those numbers. And they release some data, but they also know that if they release data, people will take that data and say this is the current portion of the game, and they won't take into effect the 6 months of work that they've done to make those numbers better. Now, unfortunately, that's the normal psyche of the human. You just take the numbers and you run with it. So they need to be more transparent with those numbers. But I think people, we also deal with this in human behavior, that people take their anecdotal stories, they look at life through a little toilet paper roll, and then because that's what your life is, by the way. There's so many things that you're not seeing or observing in this world. And there is some validity to it. You know, there's research like ethnographies where you go and you live in that society and produce a report, or clinical studies or case studies where you're saying what you see as an individual person. But we also know that in science, that is the least reliable source of information. That's also why there's a problem with listening to people who are, you know, who see crimes that are committed, because they're very unreliable. If you put 10 objects in front of somebody and give them 5 seconds to look at it, you're lucky if they can identify 5. Now that's not an actual real number, or that's not what the real science suggests, but what we see is very unreliable. It can lead to ignorance. It can lead to arrogance. You know, even with ethnicities and minorities, you start to think, oh, they don't have issues because I don't see them. So when it comes to the balance, you have people who are like, well, I'm a survivor and I do okay. And it's like, well, 65,000 players on Southeast Asia, in the United States, and Northern America and Europe on Android alone, that doesn't really equate to it. And then you'll have a bunch of people who it's more attractive to find people who think like you. I think a lot of you are seeing that right now in our country. It's really convenient to surround yourself with people who only think like you. So what you do is you surround yourself with people who think that this is a survivor-sided game, and it makes you feel better about the inadequacy of your own hunter skills. Do I think that all hunters are created equal? No. Do the devs need to do a better job at balancing the hunters? For sure. But when we look at the stats, I mean, I know this doesn't translate over, but just hear me out, just giving you an example. In the top 25 survivors in Northern America and Europe, only 2 have win rates that are higher than 60%. Top 25 survivors, there's only 2 survivors that have win rates above 60%. None that exceed more than 67. In the top 25 hunters, instead of 2, it's 20. 20 out of 25 hunters in the top 25 have win rates that are above 60%. More than 7 or 8 have more than 80%. There's 2 or 3 that have more than 85. There's one that has 97%. So I'm not saying that equates to everything. The problem also is that when people aren't really educated on science and numbers, they misapply it. So sometimes the people who disagree with numbers entirely, it's the people who don't understand how to apply numbers, but understand it a little bit, who can be even worse to deal with. Because then they'll say, okay, well, there's flaws with your methodology. And it's like, well, there's flaws with all methodology. Whenever, like, I came out with a research study on sedentary behavior and physical inactivity, I have a limitation section in my research that says, hey, my research could have been better if I would have done this, 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 and this, but this is what my data suggests. That's the scientific process. It's a process. We see that with COVID-19. We're not going to know everything right away. It gets better and better. But as of now, all of the evidence and what the devs have said themselves and the data that the devs have released themselves has shown that the game is not survivor-sided. They even released data on the China server that showed that hunters were winning in all tiers. All, yes, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, more than survivors were. That doesn't mean that all hunters are created equal. And it doesn't mean that NAEU doesn't have our own separate issues, such as our ping. So it's a difficult discussion to have because, again, you're going to tell me that the game is so survivor-sided, but the top 25 hunters against the top 25 survivors. You have hunters 20 out of 25, win rates above 60, and only 2. It just doesn't translate well. And I can only presume that that would translate well with other people outside of top 100, and that's what the devs have implied. Is it a bitch going against teams with 4 people comms? Yeah, it's hard. And that's also... The devs had the option, guys. Listen, the devs had the options. When they changed the tiers, they had the option to make it so survivors were duos at tier 5, like the current tier 5. And they made it tier 6 because they knew that survivors needed help. They didn't make it tier 5 like it used to be. They made it tier 6. And I remember when I spoke to NetEase and I asked the two women that I talked to the most, I go, hey, have you ever thought about making it duos at tier 4? Like this is before the change. And they're like, oh, no. So survivors, they need help right now. So this idea that this is a survivor-sided game is just, it's false. And it's difficult to have the conversation with people because there's not enough transparency from NetEase. So it leaves a lot of room for interpretation but then when the devs do come out with the announcements, it's always in a different language and it's hard to translate. And so what I'm trying to say is the people who feel that way, I'm actually not even criticizing them. I'm not even trying to be mean to them. I'm actually trying to say I understand because there's a lack of transparency. You shouldn't have to do the amount of research and have personal relations with some of the NetEase staff like I do to get this information extracted. It's unfair to the user base. So you try to show sympathy, but some are just so fucking arrogant. You're like, dude, I don't even want to talk to you about this anymore. Like you're literally an unreasonable person to talk to. Oh, it's so much harder for me to be a hunter. Okay. Why does Sprinter have an 87% win rate against the best survivors? Are you going to say that the survivors in tier 5 are better than the survivors he's facing? So it's hard. It's a difficult conversation. No methodology is perfect. But what I will say is this. There's absolutely more data that suggests that it's a more hunter-sided game after tier 6 than what there is not. All of the devs, they have said over and over, that's why they are buffing the game in the way that they are. Why do you see all these survivor buffs? Why do you see the persona changes? Literally at like 5 minutes into the video I posted today, I literally showed you the translated version from May of 2020 of what the devs wrote. So, I'm sorry, but it's just, there's no data at all, no evidence, nothing that suggests, you're going to tell me that it's a survivor-sided game, so you're telling me that the hunters with 85 to 70% win rates deserve 95% win rates? Yet the majority of survivors, and the best survivors, they have win rates of 45 to 50%. And this is replicated in Southeast Asia, this is replicated in China. And then the argument against this is, well, that doesn't translate to tier 6 and 5. And you're right, you're absolutely correct. The only thing that we can do is rely on what the devs said and the data that they released. And that was that hunters were winning more. And there's a lot of limitations to that. It didn't include Southeast Asia, it didn't include Japan. Well, it didn't include, I don't think it included Korea. It didn't include NAEU. So people have valid concerns about the data. And what it comes down to is when you have everybody arguing about balance in the game, my overall argument is, okay, this is my opinion with the data that we have, with what we can observe, what the devs have told us for things that we cannot observe. So I do have an argument there. You don't. I do. You don't. But at the end of the day, I don't blame them for questioning it because it's not the best. It's better than nothing, and it replicates why the devs have made all of the balance changes, All of the balance changes that you are seeing is based on that. It's literally. Do you really think that they would nerf Blood Queen if there was that big of an issue with survivors? No, they would. Think about it, right? The devs. Like, why would we nerf Blood Queen if this was this big of an issue with survivors? We would make all of the hunters go up to Blood Queen. In fact, we're making Blood Queen go down a little bit. And then a lot of people, they can't discern the argument. Just because you say that hunters are winning more in all tiers on most servers at all times doesn't mean that all hunters are created equal. I said Axeboy needs a buff, he got it. I said Hellember, he needs a buff, he got it. I said Gamekeeper needs a buff, he got it. So just because we use data for our analysis doesn't mean that we live by it. We look at the confounding or co-founding rather variables. We look at the things outside of the data and we see, okay, there's a balance issue. Let's address it. So this idea that I only look at data and nothing but, that's not true. But the data actually suggested that all of those hunters needed to be balanced. I'm sorry. I saw some YouTube video of like some person and they were like, if you're a survivor with a bad win rate, let's just admit it, you suck. And their entire argument was that hunters were more, that it was a survivor-based game. And I wanted to message that person and be like, can we get into a Discord call? And you can talk to the top 10 survivors of this entire server? We'll get Southeast Asia and China, and you can tell them why they suck. Because their win rates are significantly lower than the hunters. So if you would like, you can take the best players in the world and you can lecture them as to why they suck so bad. So yeah, that's just my opinion, and it's based on data, it's based on research, it's based on my interactions with NetEase, and it's based on public announcements from NetEase. I feel very confident with my position on that. Give me a second. Oh, thank you for that comment, that's nice. Bro, you don't understand how amazing you are. You deserve so much more. I want to talk to you 100. I'm not that amazing, man. I'm very flawed. I'm sorry. I can be very flawed. Very, very. I lack attention skills sometimes to things that are outside of Identity 5 in my work and my patience. I don't know how to manage my work and my daily life. I can put loved ones to the side to pursue my own career pursuits. I can be quite selfish with that. I can be super aggressive during video games and lose my shit. But I don't cheat on Darielle. I've never cheated on a girl. I believe in loyalty. I have forgiveness for most things. So I do have positive qualities. I don't have the inability to take a compliment. But I have a lot of room for improvement, man. These people, it's so funny when I see the Identity 5 YouTubers that go on their YouTube and they're so kind, they're so polite. They are so fucking nice. And then you get them in a private Discord chat and they are the most arrogant, fucking hostile, angry people. And I'm like, why don't you show your audience that? At least when people hate me, they have a good excuse. They're seeing my unattractive side. And that's the side that they cling to. And there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. But at least they know what they're getting with me. Why did I quit Identity 5 competition? Because I have a job. Do I think that Dream Witch needs a nerf? Oh God. No. I don't think that she needs a nerf. Because right now, actually, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm sorry. I'd rather tell you I don't have the answer to it than give you a bullshit opinion and then feel like I need to stick to it. So give me a little bit of time. Why didn't they just make Cowboy can't rescue when the animation haven't finished? The circle thing makes Cowboy real hard. I don't know. Let's see. Persuade, do you think Thief needs a buff? Yeah, he absolutely needs a buff. Thief is only good if you have like 30 ping. Shout out to Cats007. If you could do one change on every character, what would you do? That's too much of a loaded question. I'm sorry. Let's see. Speak if you see this. Hi. By the way, guys, this feed is not delayed. I'm just going through all the comments. How do you feel about the one mindset that somehow a broke character is well balanced if they're hard? It will depend. It depends on what we call broke. Let's see. Yeah, photographer needs a buff. I agree. Let's see. Is Dreamwitch a nerf again? What game do you play during maintenance? I'm playing Roblox and Valorant, but I'm really bad at Valorant. Any thoughts about nerfing Wu Chang? No, no thoughts on nerfing Wu Chang. He can be countered by the correct survivors. Do you think Prospector needs a buff? I don't know. He has a lot of potential. The problem with Prospector mains is that they're so used to Season 10 that they haven't been able to adapt to the hunters that are really good at tight kiting, anti-tight kiting. So I don't know. I think there is a part of me that wants to start maining Prospector just to see. Does the photographer deserve a buff? He does. They need to nerf Lawyer. He's too OP. When I stream, I try to say beforehand that any insult or slightly mean thing I say is not a true representation of that player's skill. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't. That's what I'm learning. It don't matter. You can give as many indicators. You can say good game after the game. At the end of the day, if you're talking shit and you hurt somebody's feelings, that's on you. And I'm learning that. Some people do need to grow thicker skin, and sometimes we do need to be more mindful. It's a double-edged sword. Alright, let's see what else we got. How do you feel about the Gamekeeper buff plus hook adjustment? I have no problem with Gamekeeper. I think sometimes his hooks are bullshit, but he's not winning enough for me to complain. Yeah, I do get mad and blow steam in rank. Oh, I'm not the only person. Yeah, but I still want better. When he said PC, I remember Peach's new song. Yeah, maybe someday he comes back to Twitch. Yeah, I'll think about it. Oh, good luck on growing and becoming. Persuade, try to just take it lightly. It happened to me that I get heated. So I've been like this since a child. So this is a funny story. You may not believe me, but if you guys know my personality, you should know that I don't lie. And it gets me in trouble quite a bit with the Identity 5 community. I used to have the craziest anger issues as a child. My family wouldn't allow me to play baseball because I attacked somebody with a baseball bat once. So I've never been good at losing, all right? And I got better at it as I got older, but when I was like 9 years old, my parents got so fed up. They got so fed up. They're like, this kid is like losing his shit. He's throwing, game boards across the room. He's trying to fight other kids. By the way, guys, I haven't been into a fight in like 15 years. So I'm very passive now. I'm aggressive vocally, but not physically. I don't get into physical altercations. But as a child, I was really, really bad. So they brought me to a psychologist. And I was 9 years old. And I knew something was wrong. And the psychologist is like, let's play a game. And I just knew. I was like, they're fucking like watching me. I already know it. Like, it was weird. I remember when I was 9 and the psychologist rigged it. So when I lost, he could see my reaction. And so I lost the match. And I was on my best behavior. I was like, good game. That was very good of you. You did a great job. And like, I knew at the age of 9, like something was going on. My dad to this day is like, I wanted to punch you in your fucking mouth. I convinced the psychologist at the age of 9 that I had no anger issues. Yet my family had to like try to record me, like losing my shit playing video games and stuff. And like, once I knew that they were doing that, I would be on my best behavior. So, so then they couldn't give the psychologist any recorded. And like, they tried to record me, they tried to videotape me, and I'd be on my best behavior. And so anyways, I get very, very competitive. I don't like losing. I fucking hate losing. And so I can get I'm mindful now. I'm a grown man. I'm not like that anymore. But there are days where I'm just like, come, guys, can we kite longer than 30 seconds here? This game's not fun when you people can't kite longer than 30 seconds. And I'll say that after we lose like 4 matches in a row, if I'm playing with people over and over, I'm like, what the fuck? And then I'm like, dude, calm down. Like, and so there's times where I'll leave rank sessions early because I'm like, I'm getting, because some nights I don't give a fuck. And then other nights I'm like way too invested in it. And I'm like, I'm going to get off rank mode. So I know that I can't change my personality fully, but I definitely know that I can identify those sort of flags better and be like, I think I need to step away and not be toxic to people. And but this is how I've been since I've been a child. I've not handled losing well ever. I am such a sore loser, and I think it's because I've done well in a lot of the sports. Like when I was a wrestler, I placed I think sixth in the states. Not, I'm not I'm not a good loser. I don't play video games to lose, and so I try to mediate that, and it's very unattractive sometimes. So there's times where I have to step away from the video game, and be like, I'm being a little bitch, But I have good insight in it. I like if you tell me I'm being a little bitch and I'm being a bitch, like I'll definitely be like, yeah, I totally am. I won't be like, no, you're wrong. I'll be like, dude, my bad. uh, let's see. You should at least do a 2 versus 8 stream for us sometime. See, I get serious in 2 versus 8 too. It's terrible. Ooh, we got a $4.99 payment. That's how delayed I am right now. You have zero idea what the future holds for you, and the most random experiences can reroute your future in an instant. Amen to that, my friend. I gotta catch up with this chat. I'm so behind. I haven't been to school for nearly 2 years, even though I should have been going. Should be going. Good luck with school. Hi, Persuadable. Thank you for being a good influence in this community when other people say that it's toxic, and I hope you continue to spread your positivity. I try to be, honestly, I don't even try to be only positive, though. I try to be realistic. I can be such a prick sometimes. It's terrible. During high school, I was working on my cosmetology license, and I was working at a salon. It drained me, so please don't push yourselves too hard. I agree with that. Get the rest of your life to be milked for your labor. Alright, we're going to go down a little bit. So listen, guys. I'm going to move down. If I don't hit your... Oh, there's another message. Hold on. Been watching you for 2 years. Learned that life is all about taking risk. Being different is better than being average. Still trying to find my true self. You are amazing, Persuade. We need to talk 100%. I'm down for it. Wondrous. Contact Comrade Dan on Discord. We'll talk. I prefer voice chat, though. I don't like texting people. I'm awful at texting. Alright, I'm going to move all the way down to the chat because I don't want you guys thinking that I'm delayed. And then you guys can repost your questions if you... Oh my god, dude, I'm so far behind. Let's see. Which hunter should be banned the most in ranked, in your opinion? So we got to start rethinking this. The hunters that get banned are going to depend on your character. If you're a lawyer main, if you're a mind's eye main, you should absolutely ban Wu Chang. If you're an explorer, I will die. I will die with this opinion. If you're an evader, your job is to ban Wu Chang. That includes explorer, that includes lawyer, that includes mind's eye. Mechanic is a little different, because all three of them have abilities to spot the hunter way before the hunter can spot them, and to predict their rotations. And I will ban a Wu Chang no matter what. If you guys talk to some of the best players in this game, they will tell you that I'm one of the best rotators. I promise you, talk to anyone who's played with me, they will tell you, Persuadable is a rotation god. My tight kiting is like okay, but my rotation is amazing. You ban Wu Chang, you're good. Because either the hunter needs to take teleport, which I can try to predict. Geisha is a little bit of a bitch to deal with, but whatever. The other next one is that if you're a tight kiter, it depends on who you are. As a magician, I can counter everybody. I think Bonbon's actually the hardest as a magician. You can still counter Bonbon, but Bonbon can be a bitch depending on how good he is. I can counter a sculptor as a magician pretty easy. So it depends on who your character is and what your weakness is. Yeah, I like how everybody is saying buff Geisha. I feel like she's fucking hitting me in corners that she shouldn't be able to swing through. I swear to God. And that's anecdotal, so it's not reliable. Sometimes she fucking hits me and I'm like, how did she avoid the pallet? I literally saw her hit through a pallet. How? How did she turn that corner and hit me when I literally see the animation over a fucking barrier or something? But that's just me. I don't know. That's why I don't think she needs to be buffed. Does Violinist need another nerf? No, I don't think Violinist needs a nerf. Rotate and waste so much time for a hunter, especially if they're looking for one decoder. You got that right. Persuade says his tight kiting is just okay, but when he was the person to show everyone had a tight kite when the first game came out. I don't think my tight kiting is that good though anymore. See, that's me. That's not me being humble. That's me being realistic. I think that hunters have gotten a lot better, and I think that hunters' tight kiting abilities have gotten a lot better, and it makes me feel insecure about my tight kiting, and so I overcompensate by being really good at rotating and evading. Do you think the devs should update with more story? I think a lot of people have asked for it for sure. Let's see, persuadable. Why is my anxiety holding me back? Because you haven't found a good way to manage your anxiety. Even if your anxiety is always there, you don't need to burden yourself with trying to think that you can get rid of your anxiety. You can have realistic expectations and say, how can I manage this thing so this thing is my bitch? Sorry for the term. Did I invent the term kite? I don't know. I don't think so. But I did invent transitional kiting, and I did invent tight kiting, and I did use the term rotation before most players. Those three terms I just used myself because I didn't know how to explain them. I genuinely didn't get that from anybody else, because in Dead by Daylight, at least to my knowledge, they used the term looping. I never played a single match of Dead by Daylight before Identity 5. So I actually think the people who played Dead by Daylight had struggles with Identity 5 because their tactics. I've been rank 1 in Dead by Daylight. Now I know how the styles are very different. I wanted to become a really good Dead by Daylight, at least mobile player. I've been red ranks in Dead by Daylight PC, but I've been rank 1 in both Hunter and Survivor numerous seasons on mobile, and it's a lot easier on mobile, so it's not as impressive. It was much more impressive when I was on PC, but I can see the different strategies, so I think that benefited me in a weird way. Don't forget Mama Ann too. Yeah, Ann has the highest tie rate in the entire game. She needs to be looked at. Should Lucky Guy get a buff? If he does, what will it be? If Lucky, I mean, you're asking me something on the top of my head, so I actually like these challenging questions because it can stir controversy, and I don't like shying away from answers, right? I could easily be like, I don't really know about a buff and all that stuff. I'm sorry, guys. I have to actually load more wood on my fire. So I'm going to give you an answer. I'm going to actually challenge you and give you an answer. If I were to go on the top of my head right now about a Lucky Guy buff, I would suggest that a Lucky Guy should be able to adopt all of the traits as the regular survivors. So as an example, if I'm a Lucky Guy, I should be able to stun you just as long as what a coordinator is, because I think you should reduce the odds of the coordinator flare gun to make it, actually lucky. But I don't think that a Lucky Guy's flare gun should be less than a coordinator's, because if I'm lucky enough to get the flare gun, then I should truly be able to benefit from it. If I get a flare gun, but my flare gun stun isn't as long as a coordinator, even though I got the flare gun, I'm really not that lucky. So if you were to balance Lucky Guy out where he actually has to go to a chest and be able to find one of those items, which takes time and takes away, especially if you're found early game as a Lucky Guy where you don't have any items on hand and you're going to get your ass kicked. To truly replicate the idea of being lucky, you need to be able to emphasize the reward for being lucky, right? Imagine saying that you can go to a casino, but you really can't win a lot of money, even if the odds are stacked against you. You're really not going to want to gamble, are you? But if I tell you you can gamble $1 and win $1 million, then you might actually spend that dollar because you see the rewards of actually feeling lucky. So I think Lucky Guy should have the same exact trait of the character's item that he has, which rewards him for whatever he chooses. However, that doesn't mean that he gets the same quantity. That's my personal belief. I'm answering you on the top of my head, okay? So there's probably a lot of arguments against it. Give me one more second. Hello again. Persuadable, should lucky guy get a buff? If he does, what would it be? I don't really know if he deserves one, but if he does, that's the one that I would give him. No, I'm a Libra. No, her mirror image should not have detention because no hunter's abilities have detention, such as Hook, such as Foggy Blade, such as Rocket Dash. Axe Boy needed that rework because he was a watered down version of Ripper. I don't know how to answer that question, Giga. Do you think Bloody Queen's nerf destroyed her map control? Probably. I don't know. We're not gonna... I know in tier 5 and tier 6, I'm still experiencing a lot of Bloody Queens. So, I think what happens is that if you give somebody a gold mine, and then give them a pot of gold, they feel unappreciated of it. But Bloody Queen, I think the other thing that you have to remember is that Bloody Queen was meta for so long that a lot of people naturally got better at kiting her. So when you release a hunter that is that overpowered and we get good at trying to counter them, and it's not good enough in order to win, but it's good enough to try to get ties, when you make that character more manageable, we're used to a more buffed version. So you got to factor that into play. By the way, my phone's going to die soon, guys, okay? Yeah, ping's probably not going to be fixed. That's never going to happen. Okay, so the one thing about Bloody Queen is worse, but Violinist seems to be banned way more. If Vile misses his notes, he has to wait for cooldown or get a basic hit, whereas Bloody Queen can keep swinging with her skill, your opinion? I think the difference, though, is that Violinist's anti-rescue is strong. Bloody Queen's is not. What does she do? Hit you and then use her mirror to catch up? Or use her mirror to prevent you for the rescue? I mean, I think Violinist is... It's more about Violinist's anti-rescue, which has 2 ways to damage you, even if you miss with the initial ability, and then you have your ult to use. So I think that's why people are using Violinist. The anti-rescue. Give me a second. Do you agree that Leo needs an S tier skin? Fuck yeah, let's do it. Do I think Sculptor needs a nerf? Okay, so what I'm going to explain to you is something that is very subjective, and if you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. Because right now, my opinion is based on nothing but subjective experience. But I don't think that she needs a nerf yet because she's still bugged. I think we need to fix the bugs to really see how she's supposed to be, and then move from there. I think that a lot of survivors struggle to kite and transition and rotate, which is something that I've dedicated my channel to helping. And they struggle so much that when they face her, because they're not rotating or transitional kiting, they're like, why am I dying so fast? And it's because, well, you've invested so much time in tight kiting and no time in rotation or learning the spawns or transitional kiting. You're getting your ass kicked against a new generation where they're really good against anti-tight kiting. So is that a hunter problem or a lack of survivor experience and expertise? I don't think she needs to be nerfed. I don't feel overwhelmed going against a sculptor. I went against an S tier. Somehow I went against an A tier sculptor, top 20, and I easily 3-cipher kited as a mind's eye. I know that doesn't replicate the overall problem of hunters, but I just think that there is a problem with survivors that want nerfs all the time and they don't challenge themselves. Does the Cowboy nerf come out with this update? No, it doesn't come out with this update, not to my knowledge. No, it's on test server. Mercenary doesn't get a proper nerf because of hunters like Violinist, but not all characters can't be good against him. I think all hunters need like an attack that they can do from far away. Like the geisha should literally be able to like throw a fucking knife or something. Because you need to have an anti-camping strategy. That's the meta. You know, Gamekeeper technically has one. Leo now technically has one. Violinist has one. Axboy has one. Ripper technically has one. Clown technically has one. Feaster has one. I think I said Axboy. Mad Eyes technically has one. Dream Witch kinda has one, especially with the patroller option. But the hunters that have nothing, I mean, I wouldn't say geishas is significant enough to brag about it. So I think some of these hunters really need to be reworked so they have some sort of anti-camping strategy. I think they tried to do that with geisha, but it's too easy to avoid. So yeah, pretty much. It's a fast game. Alright guys, listen, I'm very, very sorry, but I am going to get going. I don't want to, but I have 1% battery. You guys all enjoy your evening. Make sure you guys are taking care of yourselves. And we have some more videos coming out eventually.